In order to have a proper appreciation of the American economic system, we must know how the national income is divided in America. Is the distribution widespread, or is the wealth of America concentrated in the hands of a few, as the socialists and communists say? This is the central question for our discussion today. The fact is that American capitalism has set a new standard for human welfare. And if we keep its basic principles strong and vigorous in the years ahead, the opportunity of every American for a still better living standard will certainly be enhanced.
For those who may not know, Pennsylvania's minimum wage of $7.25 an hour has been unchanged for the past 10 years, while the cost of living has risen more than 13% since 2009.
Philadelphia, the city of brotherly love. One of the earliest cities to be founded in the country, as well as one of the most crucial in the formation of the United States as we know it today. There are so many valuable things that the city of Philadelphia has to offer. A vibrant culture, a booming media market, rich history, and cheesesteaks. But just how valuable are the people that live here? How valuable is an hour of their life? $7.25. This number represents what the state of Pennsylvania considers the minimum hourly amount to live. Out of most major cities in the United States, Philadelphia is one of 15 having the lowest possible hourly minimum wage allowed by the federal government. 2023 saw a large boost in the higher ends of minimum wage across the country, with Denver, Colorado, Spokane, Washington, Seattle, Washington, and on the lower end, Buffalo, New York, coming in above $14. Philadelphia, however, stands with Plano, Texas, New Orleans, Louisiana, Atlanta, Georgia, Madison, Wisconsin, and others at $7.25, just $7.25. While this low number is an unfortunate reality for Philadelphians, there has been movement in recent years to change the stagnating minimum wage. As of 2022, 1% of employed Philadelphians are paid a total of $7.25 or less, which is down from 9% in 2020. Let's play the numbers game. Currently, around 17,400 Pennsylvanians earn minimum wage. About 46,200 earn less than $7.25. About 418,000 lie between minimum wage and $12, and 510,000 earn between $12 and $15. In Philadelphia, as of 2022, major developments have gone underway in order to make a decent change. Josh Shapiro, governor of Pennsylvania, has put in some excellent work to raise the state minimum to $15. According to the Commonwealth Foundation, the 1% of Pennsylvanians who earn minimum wage has reached an all-time low. From 2017 to 2022, the amount of workers at or below this rate declined by 40%. 40%. Now, who is making minimum wage in Philadelphia? Compared to the total city population, the average worker for minimum wage is a woman of color in their late 20s, early 30s who has some high school level education experience, which was also emphasized by the newly elected mayor of Philadelphia, Sherelle Parker, in 2019, who worked alongside Josh Shapiro in efforts to raise the minimum wage.
Contrary to what many people believe, the average employee earning minimum wage is not a teenager working a part-time job. According to the Economic Policy Institute, the typical worker who would benefit from a $15 minimum wage is a 35-year-old woman with some college-level coursework who works full-time. And raising the minimum wage to $15 will be particularly significant for workers of color.
What's interesting about these statistics on the report from Commonwealth Foundation is a general aura of minimum wage raises being more detrimental than beneficial, as it discusses a 1% wage increase leading to a 20.8% decrease in hourly availability. Jesus Fernandez, president of TUGSA, Temple University's Graduate Student Association and PhD candidate in Temple's Spanish and Portuguese department, disagrees.
It's clearly wrong. Not just demystified by, I don't know how many Nobel Prizes signed a letter not that long ago saying that raising the minimum wage does not create unemployment. Raising the minimum wage makes those people at the bottom of the income ladder escalate a couple of positions. That's what happens when we raise minimum wages. That's what happens when we bargain for better wages. Labor gets to be more expensive. Yes, of course. But labor has been getting the short side of the stick for a very long time.
2/5, that's 38% of African Americans, and 1/3, that's 33% of Latinos, would get a raise if the federal minimum wage were increased to $15. Now, furthermore, Pennsylvanians as a whole would benefit if that action ever took place.
40 years, wages have, real wages, adjusted to inflation, the purchasing power of workers in this country and all over the Western country has been decreasing. Incredible. The weight that wages have in the national gross product of this country in the 70s was around 60-70%, and right now it's around 40 or 30%. Wages mean nothing anymore. They do not have bargaining power, they do not have real political power, and certainly they do not have purchasing power.
Minimum wage were incrementally increased to $15 per hour. By the time of full-time implementation, over 250,000 of Philadelphia residents, that's nearly half of our workforce, they would be affected by the wage increase.
The minimum wage has remained the same. What is the solution to the shockingly low amount as a state standard? Is it simply raising the wages? Or should minimum wage be indexed or adjusted to keep up with inflation?
If your pay goes up, obviously you're better off, your family is better off. But minimum wages also make labor more expensive. And the question is, do firms then dismiss workers? So they hire fewer workers because the workers are now more expensive. It doesn't pay to hire them. And so if you lose your job because of an increase in the minimum wage, obviously you're worse off. So the question of a minimum wage is weighing the benefits of those who retain their jobs against the costs of those who potentially lose their jobs.
Michael Leeds, a professor of economics at Temple University, explains that when it comes to raising minimum wage, a raise in pay could result in an unwillingness to hire from companies.
Once you get minimum wages up to a certain level where kind of they make sense, then we get into a legitimate debate. Then we get into a legitimate debate. Are people really better off or worse off on the whole? And most of the studies that I've seen say that it's pretty much a wash in terms of overall well-being, that the harm done to the people who lose their jobs more or less offsets the gain to the people who keep their jobs and are making more money.
It's long overdue that this country takes care of the workers that are at the lower scale of the income ladder. Not because I think we've seen that for the last 40 years especially, people think the minimum wage earners are teenagers that are accepting their first job as newsboys, newspaper boys during the summer, or 15-year-old girls that are babysitting. But we know that that's not true. We know that it's single moms, especially people of color, especially people working in the service industry, that they are fired at the whim of harassment claim from the worker. So it's long overdue that the United States, Pennsylvania, and the city of Philadelphia raise the minimum wage.
In 2021, Professor David Card of the University of California, Berkeley, was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize in Economic Sciences for his work alongside Alan B. Kruger. Minimum Wages and Employment, a case study of the fast food industry in New Jersey and Pennsylvania, demonstrated that an increase in minimum wage did not reduce employment in the fast food restaurants, but actually increased employment. While professionals may have different opinions when it comes to minimum wage, Philadelphia's meager $7.25 has a long way to go before it changes anything. Even if the minimum wage is increased to $15 an hour by 2026, some would say it isn't enough.
2026 is too far away. 2026 is 3 years away, and they want to increase it to $15 an hour then. If you have insurance, if you're having month-to-month like hospital bills, if you are sick, if you are ailing, you got to get that taken care of. If you have allergies and you need to, if you need to buy certain medications, if you need to be buying ibuprofen every other day, if you're a woman and you have to buy period supplies, like that takes a toll on the wallet. That takes a toll on the purse strings. And a lot of people and you have to have fun on top of that. Like, you cannot have fun on $7.25 an hour. Like, you cannot go to a bar. You can't even go to Target. You can't get anything for $7.25 at Target.
The Massachusetts Institute of Technology, better known as MIT, calculated that a livable wage in 2023 is $25.02 an hour for a family of 4. That includes 2 working adults. When compared to a single-parent household making $7.25, the numbers become unsettling. Even if you double the wage to $14.50, which coincidentally is higher than New Jersey's minimum wage, and cut the hours in half, a single mother with 2 kids would have to work around 17 hours a day, 7 days a week. $7.25 is on its way to becoming a number of the past. However, to get to a number that shows the true value of Philadelphians, a lot of work still needs to be done.